Mhm. We'll just wait till 9. Okay. Call the meeting to order. Welcome to the last day of January already in 2024. I ask if there's a disclosure of interest. Yes.
Thank you. I have with regard to the curling club request.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And the reason?
I have relatives on the executive. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All righty, we have a resolution moved and seconding the adoption of the agenda as presented. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The first item we have this morning is a deputation in regards to a caretaker's residence at 41 Rubin Park Drive. And I think Steve Brindley is here. If you'd like to come forward, please. Yeah, sure. Just come forward, and if you push the button, you'll see it light up, then you'll know that you can be heard by those out.
Sure. First of all,
Okay.
good morning. Thanks for giving us some of your time today. I'm Steve Brindley. This is John Hockenhall. We've had Precision Wood Design in the Rubin Industrial Park for, I guess, just over 20 years now. You know, we've had a lot of the same struggles that some of the businesses have been dealing with over the years, but the biggest one we probably had is the employees, finding employees in that area. Again, this is something a lot of the businesses are dealing with right now, especially the last few years, but we've always dealt with it. We're kind of secluded, isolated in that industrial park. There's not a lot of people to draw from around there, so we've had to look to the city.
Mhm.
It is a little bit of a distance, and the jobs that we have here, they're not elaborate work. It's labor intensive. They're not high paying jobs. So a lot of the employees that we get, especially lately, they don't have driver's licenses. They rely on city transit. So it's definitely an issue that we're dealing with. That's why we just feel strongly that this caretaker's residence at the property would make it more attractive for someone to be out there. You guys are all aware of this housing shortage right now, and people desperate to find places to live. Again, that's why we feel strongly that this caretaker's residence would give them somewhere to live, as well as help stabilize our business, and we just feel it makes sense. We have been corresponding with Carrie a little, probably for the last couple of weeks, and she has mentioned that if we do look at rezoning or this is in light industrial, specific with the added dwelling would require this record of site condition. We've talked to some engineer outfits, and this is quite expensive and can be a lengthy process, somewhere around $10,000. And as all of you are probably aware, that was all farmland before. We've been the only business at the location, so we just don't see how it's necessary. We don't see there being environmental concerns. If we did go ahead with a phase 1 study, it doesn't require this formal letter from the ministry, but it does cover a lot of the legal concerns that the municipality would have. Said that there is businesses, some of them not even 100 yards away from us, that do have these living quarters in them. I don't know if there's some amendment, like a grandfathering residential amendment that we could possibly look at. I don't know if that's probably the route to go, but definitely this we're trying to get away from this this ministry record of like this site condition. Just we see it being a lengthy process and something that's unnecessary. So with that, we'll just maybe with you and see if you have any concerns or something we might be able to discuss. Yeah.
Well, we do have a report coming from our planner in regards to your request coming very shortly in our meeting. So we'll be getting more information from her at that time.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any questions. Usually with deputations, we just take your information and continue, but if there's any specific questions anyone has of you from council, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I had an opportunity to go down and have a look at the site down there. I think it would have been helpful if we had a map to indicate the site, even the size of the lot. I noticed there's a lot of buildings on that property, possibly 9. Just not sure. Perhaps the planner can further let us know as far as, because we do have maximum lot coverage for lots. So we want to be sure that that isn't exceeded. And I think it would have to be zoned industrial, but that is up to the planning department and the rest of council. But in the industrial, there is a concern with regard to the railway, and you have to be so far away from the railway for residential. I think that perhaps the other building that you're thinking has living quarters in it, that may have been done prior to this zoning bylaw, that I'm not sure. And the other one that's on Oliver Road is zoned general commercial, so that is an allowable use in there. So it would have been beneficial, I feel, to have a map,
Okay,
at least an idea as to how large the property is.
okay.
Okay,
Well, maybe we can
thank
get you that. The building that we would be looking at is, the building is right up next to the road, the big blue, our office building. It is sectioned off with a fence. And it would just be, renovating the top floor, offices into a caretaker's residence, something like a 2-bedroom or, again, we haven't really looked that far ahead, but, yeah, and again, that's right up against the road. So literally, 150 feet from the businesses next across the road that have these living quarters. And then as far as the tracks, it's definitely quite a ways away from the tracks. I mean, Foresta's 100 feet away from the tracks. I mean, I live next to the tracks. There's 150 houses in the area that are right next to the tracks there. So,
That's right.
you know,
Okay, Councillor Viss?
Yes, I got a call from two gentlemen regarding the request, and my suggestion to you was, plan was, we have an official plan, we have the zoning bylaw, and the best thing for you to do is to talk to the planning department, they'll tell you whether it's allowable or not. So I suggest to you folks that in about 5 minutes from that, you
Right.
have a report from the planner, then you can hear it right from the person that has the information.
Yes.
I have general idea of the official plan, and so he's that person that would go around, so.
Right.
Must wait for that.
Okay.
Yep.
All righty. Well, thank you very much. And as suggested, if you want to stay for a little bit, the report will be coming from the planning department very shortly.
Are you allowed to discuss anything with when we hear the report?
No.
Or it's,
No, this is you can come back at a later date, or you can talk with the planner after, but after the with the planning report time, it's only council that will discuss.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. All righty. The next item we have on our agenda is the resolution moving and seconding the adoption of or approval of the council meeting held on January the 9th. Were there any errors or omissions? As there are none, approval. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Any discussion on those minutes? Page 17 to 33, Councillor Peacock.
Thank you for letting me know which pages they are. We've got a full agenda. Just one question with regard to the Roslyn Village Winter Carnival. Are they advised that it's up to them to supply the water for the concession, or do we have potable water at that location at the present time? Just because you'd hate for them to show up and not have any water available to
I
them.
would imagine they would have addressed that.
Through the chair, we started a program here today in regards to testing at all our facilities, so we'll have good data prior to hopefully we can take rid of the signage that's currently on the taps by March the 5th.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on anything in the minutes? Alrighty, we also have a resolution moved and seconded approving the minutes of the council operating and capital budget meeting of January the 18th. Were there any errors or omissions? Councillor Peacock?
I realize that you're, through the minutes, it doesn't really reflect the conversations that were had. But I'm just wondering if it could be at all possible to include, the OCIF funding suggestion that I had for the water system.
It's been noted. We know you've made that suggestion. We
Okay.
just don't do all those in the minutes. They're just what's moved and what's seconded.
Okay,
But your comments and your suggestion, they are noted and they're in our thoughts when it comes to budget.
all right, thank you.
Okay. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Oops, I'm sorry, Councillor Peacock.
Sorry, yes, the library budget that was presented was not the correct one. I believe the librarian had sent one to our treasurer, so that may have to be a slight adjustment in our budget further.
Yeah,
Okay.
that won't change these minutes though. No, that's correct. Were there any other errors or omissions in those minutes? All in favor of the minutes as presented? Opposed? Carried. Now, the first item on our reports is the Rubin Park request on page 38, and our planner is here. So we will go through this item together. We've all had a chance to read it. So if you'd like to just make an overall report to us so that what we've read here,
Yep.
Carrie, would be appreciated.
Thank you. So Rubin Park subdivision is currently split. So on the south side of Rubin Drive is light industrial. And on the north side is all general commercial. So as you go through the subdivision, the entire south side, even as you approach to Hoop, it's all light industrial on the bottom, general commercial going towards the north, aside from our public works property, which is also light industrial. So as the report states, the light industrial zone doesn't permit any sort of dwelling units or accessory dwelling units, just industrial uses are typically more hazardous, health and safety issues and all of that stuff comes up when you're looking at whether or not someone who resides there permanently, if there's any impact to their health and safety and well-being while they're living there. So I also spoke with our CBO just to confirm what the Ontario Building Code requires. So basically, when I spoke with Mr. Brindley and his partner, I gave them all of this information. I gave a couple options. We can rezone the property to general commercial. That doesn't alleviate the requirement of a record of site condition. We still have to make sure the lands are appropriate for a dwelling in the long run. Alternatively, we could do a site-specific light industrial use, adding the residential component to it, and then also eliminating any light industrial use that could be considered more hazardous. Like you don't want an asphalt plant or something like that underneath a dwelling, but perhaps what currently is there with wood planing and that type of stuff, there wouldn't be as much of an issue. Regardless, when they apply for a building permit, because it's zoned light industrial at this point, a record of site condition is still going to be required. So as the owners stated, the previous use was farmland. So in theory, the land could potentially be relatively safe. There are phases to site records of site condition. So I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm not sure of the cost breakdown, but I understand that like a phase one would be obviously much cheaper. And then only if they found something, they would go to a phase two. So again, obviously there's cost associated with that, and I'm not sure exactly what it all entails, but that's what we're looking at. The zoning amendment of any kind would trigger a record of site condition. And then like the results of that would always be required before a building permit could be issued.
So my question, if we go to a site specific,
Mhm.
are these studies also required?
They would be, because we still have to go from what exists now to make sure that the lands are safe to permit the residential component in the future.
Okay. So no matter what is decided by the owner, there's going to have to be at least a the initial study.
I'm not sure of a way around it. I spoke with, again, our CBO as well, and I mean, we were trying to come up with alternative solutions, but even the code states when you go from industrial to any type of residential use, you have to make sure that it's safe.
No matter what the industrial use was at the time.
Well, because the record of site condition is gonna go back as far as the land has ever existed.
Yeah.
So any use, even maybe there was a use prior to it being farmland, but that's what the record of site condition would show.
Yeah, because the farmland, I'm sure over there was just pasture. If I know the farm that was there, but any other questions, Counselor Viss?
On new site specific. Can we, before we, as a council, make a decision on that, get a little more detail? Where would the well be located? Where would the septic system be located? Is all that in?
Is that all space available? I don't know that. I know the property, but I don't know where things would be. And for us to make a decision before we made a terrible mistake, if they could draw out, given a sample of the drawings where they're going to have stuff, and I think that would be grateful, helpful, because they need those three requirements for a home. You need water and you need a septic system.
Well, as far as I'm aware, and I guess I could be wrong on this, I believe that there's a well and septic already on the property because there's an office space.
Hmm.
So space issue is not a concern from our department. We've looked at the site. They have at least a hectare. They have a fair amount of space, and the proposed dwelling itself would be just above an existing building. So they're not increasing square footage in any way. It's more of just a safety.
They're just changing the use of the upstairs. Yeah. Counselor Viss?
One further question, as a planner, what is your suggestion to this council? Is that a good thing to move to? Because you're the planner and we take advice from our staff.
Mhm. I have no issue with there being a dwelling there. As they stated, the general commercial use allows a secondary dwelling that can be above or behind an existing use. And that does exist in Rubin Park. As long as these grounds are considered safe and they have to be deemed that way through a record of site condition, there's no issue with us adding that. Although I would suggest we either zone to general commercial to eliminate all the hazardous uses of the industrial zone, or we do site specific where we severely limit and restrict what's permitted under the industrial zone so that we can keep them compatible.
And which is the site specific is probably the cheaper one. Rezoning could cost,
The application fee itself is the same.
it's the same, okay.
And the record of site condition, phase one is going to cost whatever
Either
phase one costs.
No matter what.
Yeah, and we can't put conditions on a zoning change. So we either get them to do the record of site condition in advance, understanding that they're not comfortable spending a bunch of money if it's unlikely to be approved. If the record of site condition came back and it says that the grounds are fine, I have no issue with it. I would write a report that likely recommended it, aside from any other information that I don't know yet. Yeah, that's what, but that's what we're looking at right now. I don't see a way around the record of site condition, just, I mean, the nature of the business is that everybody is always looking for a way to blame other people, and we have liability issues that we have to make sure that we are comfortable with, and as do the owners, so.
Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Campoff?
So the structure, the type of business that's currently in there, that would work under general commercial? It would still fit?
It's an industrial use right now.
Yeah.
But we would allow it as a use, depending on how we did the zoning. We could do general commercial with the added use, or we could, I mean, again, even in general commercial, you're allowed to have a gas bar. So we'd probably be looking at site specific either way if we're going to allow a dwelling.
Okay, any further questions? Councillor Calvert?
And you said there is a well and septic now
Oh, yeah,
on that, there is, okay,
yeah,
good
would
to hear,
have to be.
good to hear.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. There was no indication that the use was going to change in any way. They were going to continue with a lumberyard and that type
Well,
of.
I mean, it's sort of irrelevant if the use continues as is. That's why we have to restrict what the uses could potentially be. If they decide that at the end of the day, they're going to sell it, but we've done a site-specific amendment that allows a dwelling, then we have to restrict so that we make sure that, again, we don't have an asphalt plant and a residence on the same lot. So the current use, I mean, would be considered relatively compatible with a residence, but that doesn't mean that the use would continue.
Sean?
Yeah, if I could just add, and I don't want to step on building's toes, but the occupancy of the building also has to be considered. So if it's going to be dual occupancy, light industrial or residential, business, mercantile, whatever it is, the building has to be able to support both those occupancies. As an example, there's certain occupancies that you have to have a fire alarm in the building so that the residential is notified of a fire in the business aspect. So the occupancy of the property is one, but also the occupancy of the building.
Business, okay. Okay. Any further questions? Okay, so these are the options that are there. They'll have to be presented to the owner and then they can make a decision or have further discussions with you, okay? No, sorry. Okay, unless council wishes to. Yeah,
Sure.
no problem, sure, they're okay, yeah, all right.
I was talking to.
Yeah.
When I was speaking with the engineering firm, they said that I guess you can do a phase one, but it's the ministry that issues this site-specific piece of paper. So it doesn't matter, like the ministry can require a phase two or something else. Like I can get the phase one done by a company, but the company kind of acts on my behalf to negotiate with the ministry. And he was saying basically the best option, if the council did allow it, is if they grandfathered the whole area in from when they did make allow residential across the street. If they kind of gave that as an option, grandfather in the decision they made a few years ago.
Okay,
Thanks.
all righty, that's some more information for us. Okay. All righty, the next item we have is the Thunder Bay Support Tower. We have the report here and we've all in our emails received some emails from neighbors. So we've asked the planner to just give us a report that tells us what our what is our part in this this project. And so if you have any questions of the planner, Carrie, if you could maybe give us a little overview of what really, where the council comes in when it comes to this tower?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically Forbes Brothers, working on behalf of T-Vital, is in charge of this project. So they've reached out with me. We worked together to plan the open house. We provided the mailing addresses. We assisted with the notice and booking the facility for them to have the open house. But at this point, I understand council is receiving all the comments from the neighboring properties as well, but they are going to Jay Lewis with the Forbes group. And he is going about responding to everyone. At this point, he suggested that it would be a few weeks for him to put a report together for myself. And I will review that and then bring that report as well as a report from our department to council. Essentially, the council's role is just to take that information and determine what they feel comfortable submitting to Industry Canada. Industry Canada ultimately makes the decision if the tower goes up or not. Mr. Lewis also indicated that he would be willing to come to council for that portion of the meeting if council wishes, or have a deputation at that meeting so that he can answer any questions that council might have as well once we have those reports in front of us.
Perfect. Any questions of council? Councillor Peacock and Councillor Campoff?
Just wondering, was the meeting well attended?
There was maybe 9.
Councillor Campoff?
So I haven't received any comments or anything from anybody, so I don't know. Okay, so, which is okay, it's fine. I'm just curious. So I also don't recall seeing notice of the meeting. So I understand that wouldn't have been our meeting, but
So notice as the requirements of the policy were that notice went out to households within 300 meters of the proposed tower, as well as it was posted in the Chronicle Journal.
I'm just wondering, and I don't know what the rest of council feels, but myself, if we could be copied on that as council, because it would have been helpful to be at that meeting if we were concerned about listening to the residents' concerns. So
Yeah, I thought that it was in our council package, honestly, but I guess I'm incorrect on
yeah,
that.
I could be incorrect, so I'm not sure, but if, yeah, I don't recall seeing it, so.
I thought it was. I thought there was a
Yeah, I thought-
one-page thing
Yeah.
in the past meeting. It wasn't, we didn't really require any attention on our part, but I
No.
think I remember seeing something, but
But yeah, if they did hold a meeting and we have some input on it, it would have been helpful to be there, so.
Mhm. The policy states that I had to be there and I was.
Okay.
But yeah, in the future, we can certainly make sure the notice is provided to you.
Okay, thank you.
okay, any other questions in regards to this? So it's basically, we just, if I get anything that's just addressed to me, I will forward it to you and you can forward it to whomever, because I have received some just addressed to myself.
That's correct. Typically, what you've received has also gone in a separate email to the people that it's required. And I've been CC'd on them, so everything's been transferred.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, the next item we have is the LRCA MOU for 2024, and this is regarding the mapping services. We have a resolution that's been moved and seconded and a report for discussion. Any discussion on this matter? Questions, concerns? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just wondering how the Conservation Authority is advised. I note that on page 43, it says complete updates of comprehensive zoning bylaw mapping as directed by municipality, including working with the planner. And so how are they advised if the property is rezoned or when is severance is complete, anything like that?
Severance information doesn't go to the Conservation Authority.
Okay.
They get their property information from MPAC, just like we do.
Mhm.
All zoning amendments or any amendment to our mapping is sent to them directly from me.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts? So I have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item we have is the Fire Department Fire Truck Acquisition, RFP 24-2022. The reports are 47 to 65. We have a resolution that has been moved and seconded, but the resolution has been moved till after our closed session so that we can discuss it in open right at this moment. And then the legal information we have for closed will be discussed in closed, and the resolution will come back to us after the closed session. So if you have anything you'd like to state about this report that we have in front of us, any questions or concerns? Yes.
I guess the question.
The question I have on that, why it's going in camera, I think the issue was a three-party agreement. And it appears to me in here that it says we have a three-party agreement. So if we have that in place, is there something else that I'm not reading that needs to be discussed in camera?
Yes, there is. It's in the closed report that we need to look at.
It's just further to this report. Okay, I believe it's from our lawyer. That's a report from our lawyer, yes. Anything else? No? Okay, that resolution will come back to us again after closed session. The next item we have is the Norwest Arena facility rental rates. We have a resolution that's been moved and seconded and a report page 66 to 69. And the Director of Operations is here to answer any questions in regards to that resolution. Any questions? Councillor Calvert and then Councillor Peacock.
The rate, 155, that includes the extra speed that's included in there now at this time.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. The dog shows, are we still offering dog shows? Okay,
They left.
that's what I
voluntarily.
thought. because I see that they're scheduled to be held at the agricultural grounds as well as a musical ride in July at the agricultural grounds. So that's good for our municipality. With regard to the other uses, like for summertime, things like that, if someone were to have a shag, would that be an option? And what would the requirements be for the use of the bar? I have not been into the Norwest to see how the bar facility there that the hockey arena uses.
Mm.
Would that come into play at all? My other question, I realize that the property is posted that I don't think you can stay there, but would there potentially, with a rental, would people want to have an option to camp there? The other thing is the capacity, and also we have so many bookings that we won't be able to do our regularly scheduled maintenance that's done in the summer there.
Through the chair, there is no actual bar. It's a room. It's a temporary bar that's set up for functions. In regards to, as the report states, we're not openly marketing this as a facility for those functions. We have 2 halls that do those functions. It is not the intent to bring a shag to Norwest Arena. These are trade show specific, training functions for various user groups and third-party advertisers looking to use a space for functions to market their goods. It is a daytime use only that is specified for this rate currently. We are not getting into security. We are not getting into bartending services. We are not getting into camping. Those things have been trimmed out of that facility in the last 3 or 4 years. And we don't want to go backwards on that.
Okay, any other questions? So we have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item is the Curling Club 2023 property tax rebate. We have a resolution that's been moved or seconded. It's open for discussion. The report is page 70 to 72. No questions? I will call a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item is the budget variance report as of December 31st, 2023. It's page 73 to 74, and we have our budget under separate package. Let it be noted that this is not the final for December 31st, 2023. This is just the beginning of the finalization of the budget and final audit. So we'll open it for questions of the treasurer. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I spent a lot of time reviewing this, and I sent a number of questions to the treasurer, as well as my fellow councillors, but I didn't receive much information at all. So I'll leave it with John.
I have a package with the answers to all of your questions. However, given that it's so detailed, I didn't think it would be part of discussions.
It does
during
not
the
have to
council
be.
meeting.
No, it does not have to be.
So we can, after the meeting, sorry, following this meeting, I can sit down with you and discuss and go through all of your questions.
All righty. Okay, Councillor Calvert.
There's a question in regards to the library thing here. It says expenditures has an operating grant under is that expenditures that's supposed to be, or is that supposed to be revenue?
We pay the library an operating grant.
Okay.
The municipality pays the library an operating grant, and that's why it's an expenditure.
Oh, okay. I thought
As
were
well,
getting-
they get operating grants
Yeah.
from other municipalities.
So
or
that's
government.
through us.
It's through us.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. This was for information only. The next item, we have the 2024 budget approval. We have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. We have report, page 75 and 76. And at our last meeting, budget meeting, it was requested that this vote be recorded, and it shall be so. Any comments? Anybody would like to speak in regards to the 2024 budget.
If I
Counselor.
could, before, I just may want to correct one thing that, the final, draft, after number 3, after meeting is, there was a small increase of $813. So the tax increase after growth is 3.55, not 3.54%.
3.55%
Yeah.
after growth.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Viss?
Yes, I'd like to, and I know I'm gonna lose whatever I say because Peace has stated that they're in favor of accepting this budget. But I have some concern, and I think as an elected official, I'm entitled to express my concerns and my questions without being harassed. So what I look at here, when I look at this, we're passing a budget. That was January the 18th is when we had the meeting. Now it says here to provide council an update of minor changes. What's a minor change? And what are the changes? The final budget should be decided by this body and not by staff. So I'd really like to know what the minor changes are and what amount is a minor change. Is it $50, is it 5,000, or is it $1 million? So secondly, when we go down through this follow up to what we're at, very nicely done. When you look at, and we're very proud of, the growth we have, which returns us 2.2%. That's wonderful. And then when you look at it, all we need now is 3.55, as just indicated today, to manage our budget for the coming year. And that's right. And when you look at that, if you either listening or when you read through our webpage and say, wow, because most municipalities are run way higher than that. But what I fail to see in here, which, and I know where it is, but most people wouldn't know what it is. There should be another paragraph in here that should be in bold red letters stating, in order to have the tax base at 3.55, this municipality is borrowing $4 million. I said $4 million. That debt at a rate of 8% interest. Add that up, and I assume, nobody ever said that it's a 4-year loan, because there's the loan payment I looked at, it says $1 million plus $100,000. So $1 million is to the capital cost, the rest is interest. Add that up for the 4 years, and you're almost pushing $500,000. All right, so let's come back to when we, back in December, passed a resolution that we would put into general reserve from the surplus $1,185,892 be transferred to general reserve. Well, this book doesn't find, I can't find that where that money is. It's not in here. So that's a change. That's why I said, what's a minor change? Is it $1 million or is it 50,000? It's not here. Okay, having said that, is that really a good place for us to put that? What is our return on our investment? 2-3%? And we're borrowing at 8%? I suggested back in November, if we have any surplus, apply it to the budget for this year, because the reason we have a surplus in most cases is because of some job that couldn't get done for one reason or another. And that'll always happen. There's no problem at all. Rather than, that would take 1 million out of the borrowing. So we're down to 3 million. And if you look at the report, we're sitting on $4.1 million in reserves. Why in the world can we not borrow 2 million out of that, out of our own money, charge the 8% and get it back? So that's another $160,000 that we would gain rather than some bank and institution that we're going to borrow from. So that leaves us 1 more million. And if you really take a hard look at it, if we're really serious of doing the best for this municipality, there can be a reduction in capital expenditure. When the capital expenditure is 160% over last year. And let's just use a couple of little items. A new grader, 550,000. Reuben, or the Cooper Road extension, why is there 60 or 80,000 in there? The developer's doing so many meters that we're allowed. So that's part of it. Go to the fire department. Yes, there's 2 finally trucks that are going to happen. There's the pumpers. Do we require all those other ones? Can we not squeak another year out of that so that we can budget the following year on that? You could easily find $1 million. And so that's why I asked for recorded vote. I have a problem by the information that is perceived out there. So.
Thank you. John?
So I would just like to correct one thing. And I think I mentioned this earlier on in the budget process. The loan, the interest rate that we have in the loan is just it was an estimate based on where rates probably were going to be at a commercial facility in 2024, 2025. We actually expect if we go through the Ontario Infrastructure Bank that we would get a much lower rate, probably closer to 4 or 5% would be the actual rate. However, we at the time, at the information we had at the time, and I believe that was mentioned in previous ones, but so.
Okay, Councillor Viss?
I appreciate that, but why is that information not given to us? Why does staff not look into that and say, these are the things? I based all those decisions on what was told us at the meeting, and it was said 8%. Now you come back, it's only half of that, 4%.
I believe that I did mention it at different meetings about the interest rate was subject to change.
Okay, any other comments in regards to the budget? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you once again. I would like to see the OCIF funding used for the water system. Every year, it's like, it always goes to Public Works. Since 2015, every budget, OCIF, Public Works. It's a community investment fund. I don't feel it's proper, right, whatever, that the rest of the taxpayers be burdened with an unfortunate situation that's happened in Roslyn. And so I would like to see at least a portion, if not, at least shared between departments, not just go directly to Public Works. And I know that this has been discussed time and time again, but we have a legal binding agreement with fees associated to it. We passed a bylaw last March. I would like the transfer switch carried over in 2024 to the administration budget.
Okay, in your comment in regards to the OCIF funding, as I indicated to you earlier, your comment was noted at the last meeting, but in discussion with administration, it was felt that that was a good move, but we wouldn't transfer any funds over or reverse any changes until we have an actual cost to the contract. It could be $500,000 that it costs to do that. So as noted, your comment was taken and it has been noted by administration. So at the time that we get a price for that project, council can make a resolution to flip that over. Wayne? Yeah? Yes.
That's what I was going to comment, that
Mhm.
when the discussion we have the cost going now from reserves, and when the final costs come in, et cetera, council can decide to take OCIF money to deal with the cost.
At that time, we can. It be a decision of council. Yes. Okay. Okay, any other items in regards to the 2024 budget? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. The fire truck. I note that in the previous report that we had earlier this morning, there is a cost associated to it into 2025. Is there an opportunity to put only a portion of the cost into the 2024 budget and carry over some to the 2025? As well with the grader? Is there one waiting on the shelf for us to pick up, or is that going to be a cost that is going to have to be carried over for the following year? And I'm not familiar with the reserve information, so I'm just a question in general.
Well, normally the process is, and John can jump on me when I'm wrong. Normally the process is if you're going to get a loan for a grader, and for example, the grader doesn't come till 2025 and there may be a down payment required, we would not get the loan until we get the grader. So then that would be moved to 2025 and it would not be involved in the 2024 budget. The loan does not come about until it's required, even though it's part of our budget. So it's the same with the fire equipment. So we wouldn't make any changes now because if the money is required, then our budget is, we're telling the people the wrong items, wrong thing as well, right?
That's correct. So the budget includes our plans for the year.
Plans.
We plan to acquire those two pieces of equipment that Councillor Peacock mentioned this year. If, you know, with supply chain issues and all that kind of stuff happens that we don't acquire them till 2025, the money would be would obviously not be spent this year, would be set up as a reserve, and then we would apply those funds in 2025 when we.
And if it
actually
was a
make that-
loan, planned loan, and we
And a
didn't get
planned
it, then
loan.
we wouldn't get the loan. So that would not change our budget at all either.
Exactly. And if
Yeah.
that would, and also, for the reserve for the prior year, what is in the reports. But it is 2022, so it is reflected in the beginning balance of 2022. And then it's, so there is no specific discussions of the 2022 reserve in the 2024 budget because it's 2022.
Yes. Yes, Wayne?
Yeah, glad you brought that up, John. From what I recall, the 2022 results were incorporated into the reserve schedule for the budget draft.
It's unfortunate that we did not get our audited year end until September or whenever it came, so November, sorry. Wayne?
Yeah, Councillor Peacock asked about the carryover for the fire truck purchases we're looking at. And if people look on page 64, there is information there about how the transaction would work over from 2024 and 2025. So if you look at the bottom, the second table from the bottom, you see there in our budget 2024, we have 1.2 million available. And the cost down below and the schedule underneath it shows that the estimate is to spend about 1.096 million in 2024, which means we will be having 183,664 left to pay for. So we would take of the 1.2 million available this year, 104,000, reserve it to use next year, and have to find 79,596.10 for to finish the thing in 2025. So we will need to get a little money out of the 2025 budget to finish this off and carry forward some funds from 2024 to pay for the remainder of the job when it's done in 2025.
You know, perhaps to clarify a bit more when it comes to the loans, the only part of the loans that are part of our budget is our loan payment. And so the loan payment we're making this year is the final payment we're making on Oliver Road, if I'm loan.
The Oliver Road, so essentially, we paid off the Oliver Road payment in 2023.
Okay,
And we are, Kakabeka Village paving
right.
project is essentially replacing those payments.
So
And the amounts are comparable between the two.
that's right. So they're almost the same amount. So but in essence, only the loan payment is what it will really matter to the levy.
Yes. Only,
Because if you don't get the loan, then it makes no difference in the budget.
correct.
So it's just a loan payment that will make an effect to the levy at the end of the day. Yes, of course, if the loan is over 4 years, there's a 4-year payment.
Mhm.
But we've had that for like 10 years now or 8 years with the Oliver Road. We took a loan on one side and then we took a loan for the other side. Because of the huge cost of such a project, it's impossible to take that out of the levy in any particular year.
And it, again, Matt, just, that it's a multi-year asset, so
Right.
multi-year payment. is-
Yes. Okay, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. One further question. The museum budget was presented to us. There was a change that wasn't mentioned at the last meeting, and that's a transfer from reserves as well as an expenditure to capital that wasn't mentioned last time when we discussed the budget. It was only mentioned that the change was going to happen as they would like to have an assistant curator retained at the museum. So just wanted to indicate that wasn't mentioned, and I picked it up and got my answers. Thank you.
Yeah, I did look at the schedule. We had a discussion about that, and then January 18th draft, there was $76,500 coming out of reserve to pay $76,500 worth of expenditures. 60,000 was the carryover, I should say, of the general store and Village Square job, and the other 16,500 was various small repairs on the other buildings. So it was not mentioned at the meeting, but the budget schedule had what appears in the final that we're looking at today.
Any further questions? Okay, and we have a resolution that's been moved in second, so I'd ask the CAO to make a recorded vote, please.
Councillor Calvert,
Yes.
Councillor Campoff,
Yes.
Councillor Peacock. Councillor Vest.
Nope.
Councillor Kloosterhuis, I should say Mayor Kloosterhuis?
Yes.
Yes. So the budget passes 3-2.
All righty, the next item we have on our agenda is the request to use unopened Boundary Drive road allowance. Page 77 to 79. It was slightly discussed, I believe, at our last meeting, and we now have it, or I discussed it with you perhaps. Sorry, Councillor, or sorry.
Well, I just wanted to mention that in the background, there's in the second line, it should say unopened road allowance of Boundary Drive heading east from the Hackquo Road intersection, not west, east. So.
Okay, so we do have a report here, and we have, it comes from our CAO, but if there's any questions, this is just to getting, they're looking for direction. There's no resolution. The request is, I believe, to have this continue as a discussion between both municipalities and the landowner. Is that being the option?
I believe so. In the report, you'll see that we talk about there's an unwritten agreement for the maintenance on Boundary Drive, never been a written one. If we're going to extend Boundary Drive, we should have a written one. And the reason why I put extended in there, because the owner may be wanting to create lots. So that needs to be considered. And we think that the owner, Niebing, and the municipality have to be involved in talking about what's going to happen with this road allowance. So that's what we were going to do as an administration. And if council, I imagine, would be agreeable with that, and if you're not, we can, council could pass a resolution to allow him to go on the road allowance.
Right. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Do we have a bylaw or a policy or something with regard to use of unopened road allowances or unmaintained portions of roads? Last year, we looked at the proposal to open up the Cooper Road, extend that. We allowed an applicant to use an unopened road allowance in Kakabeka to extend the village portion, and he's using our unopened road allowance to access the property. There's a proposal for extension to Pineview South. Where are we at there as far as what we can and can't do and who's allowed to do what?
Off the top of my head, I don't have the policy number or bylaw number regarding unopened road allowances, but unopened road allowances, by their very nature, people can go on them and traverse along there the best they can. They can't do any work on them. So if there's not an open road allowance that is wooded, you're going to be, backpacking through it. And of course, people have cut trails through them, et cetera. But if someone wants to be going on an open road allowance and do some work on it, that would change what's there, they're always going to come to council. It's not administration's call to say you can go on an open road allowance. That's a council decision.
So we have, yes.
I'll just add, with regard to the Kakabeka road allowance, recently council approved that developer going there. And the reason was they needed to do a groundwater study for development. And in that instance, that person had to provide indemnification of the municipality and insurance.
Okay, so we do have a report here that administration is asking for council support to work together with Niebing and the landowner to see what would happen if this would be an allowable thing or not. Your thoughts in regards to that? Okay, yes, Councillor Peacock?
Just wondering if the Public Works Department has any further comment with regard to this.
I believe they probably be involved in the discussion, but go ahead, Chris.
Through the chair, the meandering path through this unopened road allowance. We have no premise in regards to which side of the line the pathway is, as was instructed to the person. If, which is the way administration is being involved with Niebing. It could meander onto our side, their side. At the point in time, they were moving a feller buncher to site and we're going to go on, and they were told to stay off our 33 feet until we get direction from you guys and a 3-party agreement with Niebing. This will ultimately be a dead end in our municipality as it's currently being presented. Maintenance wise, from an operational standpoint, we do half of this area. We do the full width of the road, and there's a jump from further down where Niebing takes over. If we were not in favor of this agreement, or if it's opening of the road allowance comes through, operationally, Niebing is not probably intent on driving 5 kilometers out of their way to plow the end of this dead end. It's going to land in our lap. So those are my concerns going forward. There is a history in this pathway since I've been here in regards to whether it should be opened or closed. There's been a lot of public discussion up in that area in regards to this right away, and we're bringing it to you for information, but we need to get something binding before we turn anybody loose here.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. Council's ask if council is in agreement with the administration continuing along this path. Yes,
I think they should continue in the municipalities.
okay. Yes.
Just one other question. Is it posted by either of the property owners on either side of that road? No trespassing? I haven't been up there.
Through the chair, as early as 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, there was a sign that exists in most of our dead end roads was on this specific area. It extends some 70 meters off of proper Hockwell Road as it goes north-south. And there was a sign there that said, this is an unmaintained road, use at your own risk, the standard signs we have at all of our dead ends. It's mysteriously disappeared.
As so many of them have. Okay, so I would just ask if council is in agreement with administration continuing with this process. I've had some nods. Yes, okay. Thank you very much. We now have a report 2413 in regards to the drinking water system and the funding arsenic treatment on page 80 to 86. Do you want to outline this report because it's for information only?
I will outline it a bit and then add some updates that we have. There was the announcement by the provincial government of something called the Building Better Fund in August that may fund what we were looking for. And then was just last fall that the provincial government talked about the Housing Enabling Water System Fund. And did attend a webinar on that in December, and I attached to the report the handout that was provided from the webinar. And the issue that we saw there was there were the three criteria about it. For getting a successful application, you had to have housing development, project readiness, and health and safety. And since our arsenic treatment plant didn't generate new dwellings, this report have the feeling that it looks like we probably won't get money for the arsenic treatment plant itself under this program. When we were at the Roma conference, the minister mentioned that the three conference again, but said that we could always apply, and mentioned that we're looking at doing something to create some housing development. Was something that's been talked about at the council table is extending all Eldor Drive to Vibert, and then we would have some lots that could be used for residential. And another item that the Director of Operations brought to my attention was putting water mains with this funding down places like Roslyn Road. There is some interest in getting on the water system in the area. And since we have this arsenic treatment plant put together, we'll have arsenic-free water. It may be of interest to a lot of people that are concerned about the arsenic, and that would fit in with the health and safety criteria of the Housing Enabling Water System Fund. At the Roma conference, the Premier said the Building Better Fund would be announced soon, and I haven't got any further updates on that.
Okay, any comments? Councillor Calvert?
I think during the Roma, I think the minister was quite clear that for us to submit our application for this project there, she was pretty positive about us going ahead with it.
Yeah.
There was no negative. It was, go ahead, this is gonna be a health and safety risk, and to the, so.
She was
Sure.
kind of saying, don't stop.
No,
Bye.
keep plugging ahead, and I think that's a wise move.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Do we have any idea how many possible lots could go down the unopened end of Alder?
I thought we had a number at one time of possible lots. I cannot remember though at the time.
Because with the encouragement of the province for everyone to basically apply for the, whether it be the Building Faster Fund or the other options that are out there right now, I think that these funds are going to be oversubscribed by all the other municipalities, and we might have a tough go trying to get any money from that. Would the extension of Alder Lane not be more costly than what we're looking at right now?
You mean
Like-
for the water system?
Yes, like to extend, to do our portion of the work to extend Alder Lane to Roslyn Road. Would that not be a cost to the taxpayers as well?
No, that'd be part of the grant.
Okay,
That's part of the grant. They want health and safety, housing, and excuse me, yes, Wayne?
Yeah, the hazy picture we have so far of the Building Better Fund is that it is supposed to be for housing enabling projects. So building a road, et cetera, you would think that it would fit in there. And then this housing enabling fund would pay for the water main, or maybe the Building Better Fund would pay for a water main. It's not determined yet what's there. Another thing I just wanted to mention is with regard to our arsenic treatment plant, we kind of have a need to get going on it. And this project, this application process here, the deadline is April 19th. So if the deadline is April 19th, you may find out in September or thereabouts, they're ready. And I'm not thinking we want to wait that long to get an arsenic treatment plant going.
Thank you. One other further thing. Last year, we had a resident suggest that perhaps we have a system, whether it be at the Rosin Water or the Rosin Community Center, where residents could use the water through a fob system or some type of thing. Just wondering if that's, then that would benefit everybody in the municipality, because we're all looking to do a rain dance or we're not going to have any water. And just an option, if we're talking about putting water mains down Rosin Road, would that as well be a consideration? I know it's going to be costly and a whole lot more than just putting up a tank. I know that.
Through the chair, that message was received a year and a half ago from a resident. It was passed on to administration. Our first key thing here is arsenic removal. Part and parcel, the CCAN's been constructed. We have a design engineered drawing that goes to the MOECP today. As Wayne said, the grant for this money closes on April 16th. We are hoping to get a time frame back from the MOECP and get to tender quickly to get trades to deal with the arsenic. Included in the overall plan for arsenic and distribution to Wayne's application in regards to HAMP or funding or building roads or housing advancement, the component that's talked about of water available to all users would be incorporated into the design of the plant after the arsenic is dealt with.
Right.
That is the intent. Also through Wayne's comment in regards to going down Rosin Road, that decision will have to be made very early on, because the section of road that the water main has to do distribution on is scheduled to be repaired this year.
That's right.
So it'd have to be a decision, a quick report. Funding comes back quickly. We can defer that project, get a project out for water main, apply for the grant. The usual runaround in regards to dealing with grant applications and the timing of spending money would all have to be advised to council.
Yes. Yes, and I do know that I'm in discussion with someone in regards to, if we can't wait, would there be a possibility of still being able to apply to use the grant money? Because right now it states if you've spent any money up to the point of acquiring the grant, it's not covered. So we're going to see what we can do.
So through the chair, internally, we've had some discussions about getting the plant upgrades for arsenic removal, get those ongoing. The budget for the Rosin Water System shows a loan or debenture, whatever you want to call it. We cannot apply for those funds through this grant application.
That's right.
Even under the health and safety component, the timing doesn't, administrative perspective, the timing doesn't work.
No.
Going forward for expansion and offering other services through expansion and better housing and health and safety may come into play after the August 16th or April 16th deadline.
Right. Okay. Yes, Councillor Peacock?
Is it possible for someone who used to be on the water system that chose to drill their own well? Do we have an idea how much it would cost for that individual to go back on the water system, and is that still an option?
Through the chair, as discussed last year during the capital project, we came to council twice for various funds to put services to every lot that the pipe goes by. If he was on the pipe before, he can get on the pipe again. The costs associated with that tie-in, we've done, council brought all the services to property line. There would have to be some discussion and some costs in regards to the homeowner to do that connection. There would be, at this time, there is nothing in the bylaw in regards to water usage about connecting to our system. That has to be revisited before we go down this road of pipe expansion and such like that.
Okay. Any further discussion? None? Okay. The next item we have is the appointment of the Integrity Commissioner / closed meeting investigator. We have a resolution that's been moved and seconded to recommending the extension of the agreement with the E4M group. Any discussion, questions? The reports are page 87 to 96. All righty, I shall call a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item is a transfer portion of road allowance of Mining Road to the municipality. This was brought to us, I believe, last meeting. Page 97 to 101, the resolution's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions of this transfer of road allowance? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item is policy 02-1701, vehicle driver record policy. This resolution has been moved and seconded. The policy is on page 102 to 107. The Director of Operations is here. Any questions on this policy? It's rather straightforward, although it's a few pages. Yes, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I feel it's a very good idea. Quite often now, when you don't have to have your license sticker done, you don't even realize that your license has expired and your driver's license has expired. So this is a good check for everyone. I'm not sure the fee to have a driver's abstract. Is it anywhere from $12 to $18 from what I could gather from the website? So would that fee then, the employee would pay it and then we would reimburse the employee, or how would that work?
I didn't look into that, the detail on it. I imagine we would pay or they could pay and we would reimburse them either way. But it would be our responsibility to pay because we're asking for the abstract under our policy.
Right. Sean?
There is a government website that's free of charge to get these drivers abstracts from. So the fire department's been doing it since I took over.
So there's no cost
If-
included.
Using that site, you just have their name and their license number, and then you get an abstract back, and there's no charge. It's for businesses and corporations.
Okay, so that's good to know. Any further questions? So we do have a resolution moved in second. I'll call a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next item we have is Committee of Adjustment vacancy. For the information of council, the resolution will come back to us after our closed session, but it is in the open to indicate that we have received some applications for Committee of Adjustment appointment. I believe there's 2 of them. I don't know if there's any discussion in open session or if the discussion will take place in closed. Okay, we shall continue then, and that resolution will come back to us after closed session. Reports of committees, we have the Public Library Board, the Lakehead Rural Municipal Coalition minutes, and then we have the Roma Conference. We have our package here, and Councillor Campoff and Councillor Calvert and CAO Wayne Hanchard were with myself at the conference, and so we'll just give you a little bit of an overview of what was discussed. Some of it learned, some of it new things. So we'll just go through our schedule first of deputations, and then we can go on to the different sessions we attended. So the natural gas expansion, we did speak with the ministry. It was a good discussion. And I'm just going to jump from that point to an open session or a presentation that was done by Enbridge, which the CAO and I attended. And we also talked with them at their booth. And we will have forthcoming in the future meeting, once we have more information, a resolution for council to, I'm sure they will pass it, because the Ontario Energy Board has made a decision that will make getting gas much more difficult, much more expensive, and they are trying to stop the expansion of natural gas. So if you'll have some patience, that should be coming to us in another meeting, once we have all the wording down. Okay. Then we had the Ministry of Environment in regards to the recovery of the black ash, the strategy for black ash. I'm going to pass it on to Councillor Campoff since he did most of the discussion on that matter.
Yeah, so I don't think we had that fruitful of a discussion,
Mm-mm.
really. They indicated that they were still moving forward with their plans, and yeah, the science was that they have to protect the trees, and I don't know.
Yeah, and they said that forestry has been removed from that act now, so they're exempt from it.
Yeah.
It's basically just farm and those.
Yeah.
Forestry's been exempt, so which is a good,
We outlined we still had concerns, so but
undoubtedly.
that's kind of where it ended up.
That's right. And then we discussed the producer pay recycling system. And if my memory serves me right, they indicated that, yes, we may have 2 depots in this municipality, that but one has to be at a landfill or present site and one does not.
What the one person there said, a ministry official, under the rules, the CMO, Circular Materials Ontario, the outfit that's running this thing for the producers, is required to have 2 depots in your municipality. One of them, though, however, could be what's termed as a MRF, and I'm not sure what that stands for. Maybe John would know, but it's the main depot where all the stuff is taken and then shipped away to be refabricated someplace. So for us, if there's a company in town that's doing that, and CMO may decide to make a deal with them to have that being a depot for us, which would mean only one of our landfills would be a depot. So that's what we heard at the meeting, which it's not exactly what we want to hear, because we'd like to continue with what we have now, where our residents can go to either the north or south landfill to take recyclables. And it's a developing story. We're still, as we heard at the last meeting, talking with the CMO. We're supposed to be we can opt into a transition agreement to have them do it, or say we don't want to do it, and then in a couple of years, they're going to do it, and we'll see where that goes, but we'll be bringing a report about that in the near future.
And then we went to the Minister of Finance, which was, we discussed the OMPF funding. They basically just kind of went over that quickly. No commitment at all.
They said, yeah, we got an increase, yeah, but then you look 7 years ago, it was a lot more than it is now. Like it's
Yeah,
kind of.
no, I know. They just kind of glossed over it, and the same with the District Social Services Administration Board levies in regards to we wanted not weighted assessment by per house, but by per household, because we pay 8 times more per household for social services levies than someone like Manitowoc. And the services should be the same for all of us. So why are we not paying per household rather than paying 8 times more? But no one at the ministry table jumped up and said, you've got a good idea. So I guess we just keep plugging along. Yes, John.
Just as an aside, we did receive the final levy from DSAP for 2024, and it is about 8,000 less than we had budgeted.
Okay,
So,
that's good. Good news.
but it is still a major increase, and our increase was still as a percentage higher than the other municipalities.
Well, yes, it always will be.
So.
Okay, and then we went to the Ministry of Health, the same thing again, when it came to the SNEMS. Of course, that is a levy that we will have to discuss with the City of Thunder Bay, since they are the operators of the SNEMS. And it is speaking with ourselves there in Toronto, that is our plan. We will approach the City of Thunder Bay. Once we have more numbers, we will go through the SNEMS organization first, and from that point on, go to the City of Thunder Bay to try and alleviate, because the same thing, we're paying 8 times more for ambulance service than, for example, Manitowoc, plus we have a first response team that we're paying for on top of that. So. And medical first response challenges, yes, they understood exactly what we were talking about in regards to the our first responders and what is our problems at this time and how they're getting worse. They did mention something about the new program that is to alleviate some of the not unnecessary calls. I'm not quite sure if there's been I don't know if we're part of the test group yet or if it's coming up soon.
So I believe the official rollover was the 26th or the 29th of January.
Okay, 2 days ago.
Yeah, so it's really too early to see if there's any impact to us from call
Mhm.
volume.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to a report from you. They did want to have more information and we did have your report, so we're sending it second copy to them because they couldn't find the first copy. So, and then we talked about the public health reorganization and they came back over and over again and said, it's voluntary, it's voluntary, it's voluntary. So if you want to investigate it, fine, but we are not forcing anyone at this time to amalgamate health departments or health units. And then we talked about the fire department infrastructure programs. We brought up the fact that there's new equipment being given to some organizations, provincial unincorporated organizations, and they are not coming out to the fires. We are. And we are having to pay for those fire trucks. And we would certainly ask them to look at some type of funding in the future. And you did say there was a little bit of something that had come over the last year where you could get a little bit of money, but not enough for a vehicle. No. And and then we talked about the housing enabling water systems. And again, the minister was adamant, put in an application because we kind of thought we didn't qualify. She said, no. Put in an application, so. And then the asset management planning, again, I don't know if they actually came out and said it's going to affect anyone that hasn't done an asset management plan at this time. They did not come out with a concrete statement saying if you haven't done it, we're going to penalize you yet. So. Okay, now, what you were at some sessions there, Dan and Bernie.
Well, the one session I sat through, just looking at the list here, was talking about, and I guess we've talked about it around here, not extensively, but the fact that railways have decided that they're going to stop dealing with municipalities and funding drainage projects. So there was quite a discussion about that. Also sat through lunch with IESO, the Independent Electricity System Operator, and they explained some of the stuff that they do. What's the other session that we sat in, Dan?
I was in there.
Employees, yes, that one.
That one, staff employees, and they basically say everyone's going through the same issues with that. He says the biggest thing is just push out there how, stable jobs, pension and all this stuff when you're advertising it. Basically was it, and allow, job flexibility and stuff like this is ongoing issues. The other one, the tile drainage too, and the train drainage act, they're actually two lawyers they have. One's working federal side, one's working provincial side on this same issue. And so they have like a test case they're doing in, I think it's Middlesex or somewhere they were saying.
Kent.
Yeah. So they're going at it, and they said it's gonna be 2 years at least before they even delve into it. So it's there, but they have a group and they got a group, and there's anytime you get anything, push it ahead to them, like agree with them and vote for it, as they're working to fight them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that was
they're-
their message.
Yeah, and they're still putting the case together. So if we had any conflicts or challenges dealing with railways in regards to municipal infrastructure, we should be passing it along to them so they can add it to the case.
Okay, and CAO and myself were at the Zone 10 overview for Roma, and the main topic that Roma was working on this year was health services in every direction in regards to fire services, first response, and the clinics and hospitals and so on. And then we went to the risk management and liability session, which told us as much as we knew when we walked in. But it's always interesting. You hear other municipalities and their concerns. One of the, of course, the major concerns was the 1% liability of municipalities, 1% liable, they could get 100% of the bill. And which they say they're all fighting for to change, but so far nothing's been changed. And then we went to the Enbridge session, which we was eye-opening. So that's one we're going to push forward. And I can't remember. There's so many that you just speakers that you have to while you're, but those are the main ones, I believe. Okay. Next item. Agenda is we have the bylaws. Bylaw road allowance and mining road. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The bylaw in regards to the extension agreement with the Integrity Commissioner Services, and apparently the date has been corrected to the 31st day of January. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The vehicle driver record policy, this bylaw has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Lakeville Regional Conservation Authority Mapping Services bylaw has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The Norwest Recreation Center rental rates bylaw has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the 2024 budget approval bylaw is here. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have an agreement in, oh, I'm sorry. This is the agreement for the fire truck acquisition will be after our closed meeting. Action items that were previously presented are listed in our agenda. And the new action items is the cemetery transfer, abandonment, administration, and management support. And we have the resolution attached. It has been moved and seconded. It's on page 10 of our agenda. So it's open for discussion. Yeah, I will call a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have the Climate Action Incentive Payment Rural Supplement. There is a resolution with that as well. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have the AMO Policy Update Social and Economic Prosperity Review, and that resolution has also been included in our package. There has been one section removed as per our LRMC meeting. The heads of council felt that the revenues such as property taxes do not necessarily grow with the economy of inflation. So we had that section, that paragraph removed from our resolution. Any discussion? Resolution's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The other items we have is the road safety emergency, the carbon tax, license plate renewal system, and landlord and tenant board. Is there any of those that you would like to have brought forward as resolution at our next meeting? None? Okay, for information only, we have a letter from Mr. Wilnuff, Director of Northern Operations, in regards to the speed limit and roundabout at the intersection. We have, for information only, a newsletter from the DSAB, Food Strategy 2023 highlights, AV Terrace Bay Mill shutdown, Crown Land Disposition in Northern Municipalities, Rural Economic Development Program, Nonprofit Sector Appreciation Week, and solar energy projects in Morello. If there's any of those that you would like to, oh, I'm sorry, and there's two more donations, regards / boots on the ground organization and St. James Anglican Church. Do we have a resolution?
Let's just thank you.
Oh, that was a thank you, right. Sorry. Yes, Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. With regard to the donation for boots on the ground, just looking for clarification from the fire chief. That was not municipal funding. That was the donation from the Christmas get together that we had,
Mhm.
and the proceeds from the Plinko game or the other games that were there. It was not municipal funding that
Yes.
went
That's
there.
correct. So the Plinko game was for prizes and all that money is part of this. And then whatever was surplus from the drinks that were sold, that went into that. So there was a extra $400 that we decided to give to Boots on the Ground.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you to the fire department. Okay, any new business? Councillor Peacock.
Thank you for that opportunity. First of all, just thanks today for the fire department, their efforts. We had recent house fires. Everyone got out safely. That's the main thing. To the road crew for responding promptly to an issue that was on Mackey Road. It's hard to believe that there's flooding, especially during this drought, and it was a weekend, and I appreciate the efforts put forward there. Thank you also for the light that is finally at the corner of Town Line and John. Right, Councillor Campbell? Yay. To the delegation that went to Roma. Thank you for your efforts, and hopefully we're heard down there. And good luck to the girls under 18 curling team from Techquebec Falls. They will be representing Northern Ontario in Ottawa next week, as well as being at the Ontario Winter Games in Thunder Bay at the end of February. And there is a get together at the curling club tonight, if anyone's available, to wish the girls well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kamphoff.
I'd like to thank council for giving the opportunity to go to Roma once again, and I think get everything we asked for. So good to talk to people and talk to people and to certainly meet with provincial ministers. Yeah, other than that, I have nothing new other than the last meeting in February. I will not be able to attend for council, so.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Biss.
One thing is new as can be. What's the plan of council with the request we had this morning now? The people have left us. We had the report from our planner that she has no objection. What direction do we set? Where did they go? Do they go rezoning? Do they go site specific? I think it's only fair to the people that come here and make a presentation that at least we give them an answer somewhere. So you've heard the report, and do you have anything further to us the way we should go, I guess, because we do rely on your expertise.
I don't think that the zoning change is their main concern. I think that they were hoping that council would be able to remove the requirement of a record of site condition, and I don't think that you can do that. It's applicable law, so regardless of which way they go with zoning, I don't think either is an issue. They could do a site specific and eliminate industrial uses with the addition of the residential. Or they could go straight to general commercial, which automatically allows the residential component. There is a definition in our zoning bylaw for what would be more of like a bunkhouse, which is maybe what they're looking at when they mentioned that there would be 2 bedrooms. That's not the same as an accessory dwelling. So either one might also require the addition of that definition being a permitted use. So whichever way they choose to apply, I think it's a matter of them being willing to do the record of site condition before that to get the results of that.
So is it council's intention then to direct you to give them that type of information, then they can come back and put the ball in their court to
Yep.
say?
That's
Okay,
it.
as long as that information goes there, at least
It's up to
then they
them.
know where they're at, so.
That's right. It's up
That's
to
all I
them.
have, thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Calvert.
No, very much. The Roma conference was very formative actually, and it's huge, well attended. And there's a lot of communications between a lot of the councillors. A lot of the councillors are saying the same thing we're saying here.
Yeah.
You know, the cost and everything, it's just how it is, and you deal with it as best you can.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
it's very
as-
good.
As noted at the beginning there, I believe their first conference was 800 and some people, and it was like 1,800 this time. In 3 or 4 years, it's increased that much with the rural municipalities, so. Okay, I have no new business. Administration has no new business. I will now ask that we have a resolution that's been moved and seconded to resolve to close session, the time being 10:35 a.m. All in favor? Opposed, carried, and we will have a 5-minute rest until we go to in camera. Thank you. We will now reconvene our council meeting, the time being 11:13 a.m. First item would be we have a resolution approving the minutes of the closed session meeting held January the 9th. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Then we have a resolution in regards to the fire department fire truck acquisition RFP 24-2022, report number 2024-15. We have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have a resolution moved and seconded to appoint Peggy Breckfeld to the Committee of Adjustment. Any further discussion? Oh, I did on the fire truck?
No, would you ask who they're voting for?
Oh, I thought, okay.
You have two candidates, you ask.
Oh, I gave the name of one. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, I'm going by. Okay, so we have a resolution to appoint whom to the Committee of Adjustment. I will ask the input from council, please.
I'll just ask councilors who they would like to.
Oh, I
vote
see.
for.
It goes by recorded vote. Apologize.
All right, so Councillor Calvert, Councillor Campoff, Councillor Peacock, Councillor Vest, Mayor Klusterhuis.
Peggy Breckfeld.
Peggy Breckfeld has won the election 5-0.
Okay, so we have that resolution. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have the bylaw that's been moved and seconded, which is the agreement for the truck acquisition, the fire department fire truck acquisition. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have the confirming meeting bylaw. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have a resolution to adjourn the meeting, the time being 11:16 a.m. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.